right, good morning everybody. My name is Samantha Mirabal with Melco's application team. We're doing our design shop talk to see what questions you might have and get them answered. I'm running on a new computer today and I set up this broadcast system by myself, so I hope it's working correctly. So if you can hear me, type in the chat. It looks like we are actually up on both platforms, so clearly I did something right. But I decided I was going to try it on my new computer rather than going on the old one. So if you can't hear me, please let me know in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to jump straight into it. Yay! All right, yeah. I'm trying to phase out my old laptop. It is in sad shape, so got a new computer here. All right. But I did forget to install PowerPoint, so I'm running off of PDFs until I can do that after this. So, all right. So I'll start off with the questions that were sent in ahead of time. If you have questions while we're live, feel free to type them in on the chats. Don't send them privately. I do not see those while we're live, so just be sure you type them in on the chat. If you see me looking off to the side, I have a secondary monitor up where I can keep track of what's going on in the chat and other things. So with that, let's jump into it. If I'm turning a design to an angle, is there a way to rotate it to a perfect angle? Yeah, absolutely. So let's do it. So why don't I just open, all right, a circular design is probably not the best thing to show as an example, but here, I'm gonna add a square around it. Let's do a square single line. Okay. All right, so if we wanna take this and rotate it, there's multiple ways we can do rotations, right? So you can select everything you want to rotate. So you can do that by clicking on the top of this right here, and that will select everything. You can draw a box around everything. Same result, okay? Now notice on the screen, you see I've got these black handles. I don't know what else to call them. I call them handles. So these black little squares, when they're filled in solid black, that is a scale mode. So if I try to drag those around, I'm going to change the size of this thing. That's not what we want to do. We want to rotate. So now that it's all selected, I can left click on it. And now you notice they're all open. They're hollow or white. So that's rotation mode. So now I can rotate it. Now, if you're rotating it like this visually, that's not an exact angle, right? You can see the angle that it's rotating. So look down here when I go to do it. So you'll notice as I'm rotating, it'll show me degrees. All right. That looking down there is not my preferred way. I like precise, like I want to rotate it exactly 45 or something like that. So how do we do that? So notice again down at the bottom, everything is selected. We have a W and an H. It really doesn't matter which one you click on. I can left click on the W, I can left click on the H, it brings up the same box, okay? So whichever one your mouse gets to first is great. All right, so click on that, and now you can type in an exact angle. So if I want to do a 45-degree rotation, poof, 45-degree rotation accomplished. If I want to put it back, how do you do that? Well, it's negative 45. Okay, so you can do positive numbers, you can do negative numbers. It won't do more than 360. So, I mean, 360 is a circle. But you can rotate it 270. That's, 90, 90. Or from there, I can do negative 270. All right. So all of those is rotating by angle. If you only want a 5-degree rotation, you can do that. So you can type in whatever number you want here and just keep track of what you're doing, because then you can rotate it around as you see fit by number. Okay. All right, so what other questions do we have? So yeah, you can rotate to exact angles. Next question was, is there a way to save the print mock-up so I can send it to my customers? Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to print this, well, there's a few things you can do. You can do File, Save As, and Save as a JPEG. So this will only save an image of what you have. It won't save all the details. So if what you're wanting to give your client is just a picture, that will work, right? So if I go grab that picture I just saved, it's going to be in Legacy. Oops, wrong screen. There we go. So it'll save a picture for your client. All right, so that's one option. I'm assuming what you really want are all the print details where it shows the thread colors and all of that. So how do we do that? We go File, Print, And when you do that, it will bring up the little print DesignShop printer, the print manager. So here you can go, you know, turn on notes, add the origins, you know, tell it to do grids and other stuff, print actual size. So all of that, it'll, you know, add additional things. If I don't want the grid, I can turn that off. If I don't want the origin, which is that red X, I turn it off. If you're doing this for customers, you probably don't want that stuff, right? All right, so from here, I can go say File, and I usually just use the Microsoft to print to PDF and tell it to print, and then save it to whatever you want. So where's today's talk? I'm gonna save it in that folder. One day print. There. Okay, so now if you go and open that file, which, there it is. Yeah, so there it is. And now you can send that PDF off to your client. This would be the actual size. This is just all the details of what was selected. Okay, so yeah, you can do that. What else do we have? Okay, so in version 11, sometimes you need to have the same setting for everything. So you overwrote the permanent. All right, so basically you changed your defaults by accident for everything and you want to fix your defaults. So how do we do that? So if I go into properties on whatever element I'm working on, right? And you said you turned on the random edge. So I'm going to make a big random edge so we can see it. Okay, so we turned on a random edge and we no longer want a random edge, right? Because every time you go to draw it, because you overwrote your defaults, it's there. So when you're changing your defaults, I always recommend starting from a new file. And the reason this is, when you start new, everything you pull up is going to be the current defaults. So it sounds like you changed it on the single line. So I'm going to right click on the single line center and that'll bring up the properties. So you go turn that off and, you know, whatever you want to do. If you're going to change your pull compensation, if you're going to add different tie-in, tie-outs, turn on or off effects, whatever you want to change to make it how you like it. And then right here, it says save current settings to defaults. And here, it can be for current document or for your permanent defaults. So you'd say, okay. And now that new file, whenever you start a new one, your new defaults are going to be whatever that is, whatever you just changed it to. And you can do that for all the different elements. Like if you want to change the lettering, I can right click on the lettering tool. And let's say my favorite font ever, I'm just picking one. Let's say I want to make that my new default. Well, I can save that permanently. And now I have a new default set for when I go to the lettering tool. Okay, so those are all things you can do. So yeah, you can, that's how you fix this. You're trying to learn how to set up DesignShop for stitching multiple patches. So stitching multiple patches, it's really not a hard thing. It's thinking about how you want it to sew, right? So part of it is going to be what size hoop are you going to use? So if you're using this 11 by 17, let's go ahead and turn that on. Okay, and then how many are you going to try to sew and how are you sewing them? All right. So if you're going to sew them all, like you're going to hoop a material, sew it all, and then hot knife cut them out, then I would just place them and sew them continuously across. So meaning, let's turn that one day into a quick patch. So got my one day design. I'm going to add a circle around it. All right, which that's not centered. Let's fix it. Oh well, let's do it like that. Okay, so I've got a design and a border, but if I want this to be a patch, I probably want a little additional instead of just that border on there. So let me go down and give that a different color. Let's make that black just for grins, mainly so I can do this. So I'm going to copy paste, take that one, move it all the way to the top, and I'm going to change that element type over to a walk normal and just click replace. So that's my placement stitch, copy paste, I give it another color, again, change element from one type to another. I'm going to change it to a single line center and hit replace. And we're going to make that one a tackle stitch of maybe a 30. Okay, so what did that do? I have my placement, my tack down, sews the design, and then puts a border on it. Okay, now if we're sewing this all on fabric and we're going to hot knife it out, there's no reason to wait on that border and possibly lose registration, right? So you could do all of it at once, do all that, and then the design in the middle. So if that's the order that I'm going to sew it in, cool. So then I can just go either use the array tool and array this thing around, right? So go to object, step and repeat, and number of rows, 2 columns, preview. Yeah, I didn't select everything, but so you can either use the array tool to create it, or you can just duplicate this and move it around, right? So if I duplicate that, that's different. What did I do? I have no idea what I just did. That's magic. All right. Just going to do it this way. Copy, paste, left click, drag. Got 2 of them. Copy, paste, left click, drag, and maybe we're just going to do 4. All right. So that will sew it all on one fabric. I can then hot knife them out, right? Now, if you're going to actually want to put fabric down one at a time, then you got to do it a little, you got to think about it a little bit more, right? Because you're going to be cutting it out. You've got to worry about shift and whatnot. So it's always a good idea to do kind of patches, finish as you go, right? So do a few of them, do a few of them, do a few of them, even if it's in one hooping. So do groupings of it to avoid that pull effect. But you know, let's say now you did these and you went, well, I really want to just sew all the designs at once. So then it's just a color sorting manner, right? So if I want to do all the designs, like all that light green color first, I'd select them, drag them all up, and I can do the auto merge right here, or you can merge them one at a time, however you want to do it. All right, so again, I can select color 2 for that design, select them all using the control key, left click and drag, and because the auto merge is turned on, it will automatically put them together. Okay, so it's really just thinking about what you want to do and sorting it accordingly, right? Because you can sew it however you want, right? In whatever order you want, but it's really planning out how you want to go about doing it, and then just moving it around and sorting accordingly. And this one's missing some trims, which is why you got those little lines going across there. See, my little lines. All right, what other questions do we have? Any live? I don't see any, so I'm gonna pop back over here. So does that help any? I mean, it's really how are you going to make the patches and then planning it accordingly. And it's really just a color sorting manner. So one, think about how you want it done and then implement it in DesignShop. All right, so decorative stitching. So when you're going, close that, no. I don't want that either, no. All right. So decorative stitches, you'll notice there are many kinds of decorative stitches. So you've got ones like this, which are actually satin stitches, right? So if you zoom in on it, you'll see this bean is a satin stitch, right? Versus others like, which is one? Diamonds maybe? I don't remember. Yeah, like that one is a walk stitch. Okay, it's just different looks of how you do it. So depending on what you're trying to achieve, like if you're doing flower petals, that was asked about last week. Well, flower petal, you can do it 2 ways, right? You can do an outline of it using a walk stitch, or you could actually draw the petals, you know, draw a flower using a satin stitch, and then create that as a repeating element. So your decoratives really are just a method of you digitize one element and then set it as a decorative, which means now it will repeat the pattern's going to repeat. All right. So when you go to create them, so let's say I want to create something like that bean, but a different shape. All right. Remember, when you're creating decoratives, your starts and stops have to be on the same horizontal line, right? So I can come over here and say, all right, well, let's make a satin decorative. I'm using that column, but let's make it a little bit wider. So let's say I want it a little longer and wider. And say that's what I want my bean to look like. Actually, let's make it actually different. Let's do that. Okay, so I've got my start and my stop. I always like to go operation, wait, where is it? Save custom shape. All right, so select the shape you drew, save custom shape, tell it to be a decorative. I like to call them all test so that if I messed it up, I just try it again and I don't create a bunch of junk in my file or in my little folder area where the decoratives are. Because it's really annoying, at least it's annoying to me, when this is full of just trash that doesn't work. So I tend to just keep on overwriting one until I like it. Okay, so that's a decorative, right? So I created one satin shape and I can then repeat it across whatever pattern you want using that decorative walk. Okay, now if you could also do the same thing with your walk stitches, right? So I can come over here and create, I don't know, a swirly of sorts. Let's see if I can draw a swirly that doesn't look awful. Will that work? I think that'll work. Well, no it won't. It's going the wrong way. Oh well. Where'd it go? Oh, I hit escape. That won't work. All right, let's try it again. All right. Oh, of course I'm drawing it the wrong way now. Helps if you think about what shape you're trying to do first, but I started with the swirly, so we're going with the swirly. So let's say that's what we want. So I'm going to go right, and I want that to be a bean stitch, so it'll stick out a little bit more. A walk stitch is one piece of thread, a bean is 3 to 5 or 7. It's a little bolder that way. So save custom shape, test, decorative. I'm going to call it test 1. There. Okay, so what did that one do? Decorative, test 1. It's not going to be as clean because of how I put the starts. Weird ease. Anyway, so you can play with it and create your own little decoratives, whether they're walk basis or satin. You can even do multiple shapes. I don't know if I have it in here. Let's see. I did this fan thingy. No, that wasn't it. I don't see it. I don't think I moved it over yet. I did this lace edge, which was pretty cool. And it was a whole bunch of satin and walks. So I basically digitized a small design and made sure the start and stop were where I wanted them, copied the whole design and told it to be a decorative. So then it repeats that entire tiny design over and over. Okay. So you can, what can you do with decoratives? Pretty much whatever you can think about. It's repeating patterns. That's the thing I like to think about is, what do you want to repeat? You can use it for quilting patterns. You can use it for borders, to add interest to things. You can add them to your fills, right? So on your fills, you can tell a fill to be a decorative, and you can create some really unique fills. Yeah, that horse is one I did that I've shown a few times. And again, what if we use that test 1 that I did just to see? So, you can get some interesting looks just with repeating patterns in a fill shape or in a walk. It's, what can you imagine? You can create it. It's just a matter of thinking about it. Okay? All right, what other questions do we have? Walking versus, it's just the different looks, right? All right, so those were all the questions I had ahead of time. What else do you guys want to talk about? Anything fun and exciting going on that you want to learn about? I know school season is starting, so all my kids, all the sports are starting. So I got 2 weeks left, and one of them's going to be full-time crew. It's like 5 days a week practice at the river. And then one of them plays soccer, which is like 4 times a week soccering. So yeah, kid fun. All right, y'all. I guess hopefully the stream worked on this computer, and you guys, hope these were helpful. Let us know what you want to learn about, and we can talk about those. Yeah, have a fantastic weekend. I will be back. I'm going to aim for next Thursday, so I'm going to try for Thursday unless life happens. And then it'll be Friday again, but aiming for Thursday next week. So let us know what you want to, what sort of questions you have, or if there's something in particular you want an example set up for, and I'll do my best to try to get there for you. All right, everyone. I will talk to you guys next week. Have a fantastic weekend. Bye.